Hello, everyone. This is Mark Goodman, Executive Director of FD Chaplain Services, Inc. in Estero, Florida. Welcome to the program, Reaching In, Reaching Out, where I will be your host as we take a look and learn about the many faceted aspects of chaplaincy, particularly fire chaplaincy. So sit back, grab a notepad and a pen, and definitely grab a cup of coffee as we explore together all those things that have to do with being a chaplain and learning about being a chaplain and being the very best chaplains that we can be. So here we go. Hey everybody, I'm Mark Goodman, Executive Director of FD Chaplain Services, Inc. here in Estero, Florida. And this is a new program. It is one that is designed to be instructive and educational and where we can share with one another and learn from one another. We're going to cover a number of different aspects of chaplaincy. The title of this episode, episode number 1, is actually the pilot episode. So trying to figure some things out with the video and the audio technology. So bear with us, and this will get better as we go. So I just wanted to, since this is an introductory show and I'm going to be delivering the information and being your host, I want to tell you a little bit about myself so that you can get to know me. I've been in the fire service for 35 plus years in various capacities. I actually started my fire service career as a firefighter in Batavia, Illinois, 30 miles west of Chicago, Batavia, Illinois. That's where I was certified as a firefighter. And during that time, my family moved back and forth between Pennsylvania and Chicago area. So I was in the Lancaster area, a little town called Mountville. And there was Mountville Fire Company number 1. So I was a volunteer with Mountville Fire Company and had a great time with all those firefighters and learning together. Fought a lot of fire between Batavia and Pennsylvania. Just had a lot of good experiences in the fire service and fighting fire. In 1980, I moved to sunny Southwest Florida, a community of Tice, which is in Lee County, Florida. And Tice Fire Department, I was hired as a firefighter. And shortly into that, they discovered that I had a degree in fire science. So they thought, well, you ought to start our Fire Prevention Bureau. So I was promoted to lieutenant of the Fire Prevention Bureau. And I supervised myself and built that Fire Prevention Bureau that's still going strong today. I was there for a little over 3 years, and then I was hired by Lee County, the Lee County Building Department, which also housed the fire official's office for the county. So I became the fire official for all of Lee County, Florida, which at the time was about 3 incorporated cities and 16 independent fire districts. So I worked with them in implementing and enforcing the state fire code, the Florida Fire Prevention Code as well. So I was there for 17 years and then went to the Bonita Springs Fire Department, where I was hired as a fire plans examiner, and I promoted up to fire marshal, where I took an early retirement about 11, 12 years ago. Might be a little bit longer than that. But so I've had extensive career in the fire service, and then since retiring, that allowed me to go into full-time ministry. And then I was tapped by the Estero Fire Department and asked if I was interested in being their fire chaplain. And that was about 6 years ago. And at the time, I had heard of fire chaplains, but I really didn't know what a fire chaplain was. But they thought, hey, you're a pastor in town, and it'd be a good fit. You have fire service experience. So I agreed, and I started doing that and went to some conferences and got some education and figured out, okay, what is the fire chaplaincy all about? What am I able to do? What should I be able to do? What should I be doing? So that's a lot of what this show, Reaching In, Reaching Out, is going to talk about, the role of the fire chaplain and what we might be expected to do and what we should be able to do. So right now I serve as Fire Chaplain for the Estero Fire Department, South Trail Fire Department, San Carlos Park Fire Department, Lehigh Acres Fire Department, and Sanibel Island Fire Department. So it keeps me quite busy. I'm on our Tri-County Critical Incident Stress Management Team, the CISM team, and thoroughly enjoy doing that. I helped Estero Fire Department develop their peer support team program. So as you can see, just as I'm listing out these things that are part of my experience, they can be part of your experience too. Or maybe you never even contemplated being a part of a peer support team or being on a CISM team. But those are all things, and I'll talk more in a little bit about what a fire chaplain does. As far as credentials, I'm still certified as a firefighter in the state of Illinois and the state of Florida. I'm a certified fire inspector and a certified fire service instructor 3 in the state of Florida. I am a master chaplain and instructor 3 for the Federation of Fire Chaplains. So I want to tell you a little bit about FD Chaplain Services, Inc. It's a 501c3 that I operate. I have a board member, comprised of Stephen Bunn, who is a 30-year career firefighter with Bonita Springs. He retired and also retired from the London Fire Brigade. And Nate Burley, fire marshal for South Trail Fire Department, he's on my board. And Jenna Sherman is a lady that attends my church, and she's very interested in fire service things and helps us out quite a bit, and she's also on my board. Together with my wife, who is my right hand, who does all the administrative things around the church that allows me to do the things that I do, and really I couldn't do it without her. I couldn't do the things I do without her taking up and picking up for administrative stuff that needs to be done. So anyway, FD Chaplain Services was born on September 11th, 2017, which also happened to be the date that Hurricane Irma was slamming Southwest Florida and doing about $77 billion worth of damage. So, we were contemplating having our first organizational meeting on that day, September 11th, but we were all hunkered down, so we had to do that communication by text as we were checking on each other anyway, making sure each other was all right. I was embedded with the San Carlos Park Fire Department and actually rode out with them and their crews on a chainsaw crew as soon as the storm had passed, helping to clear streets, and so emergency workers could get around and do the things that they needed to do. So that's my story. I have 2 adult children. I have one Florida cur dog named Chief, and he definitely thinks he is the chief around my house. So reaching in, reaching out. We at FD Chaplain Services are all about training chaplains. Part of what we do is providing chaplain services like we do to various departments, and we're also training, and we want this show to be about training so that you can actually learn something that you might not have already known, or just, I have an educator's background with a degree in leadership and a degree in biblical education. So I'm all about leadership and education. So I think those two go together. So in order to do that, we're providing this program, Reaching In, Reaching Out, as a teaching arm and teaching tool. I teach extensively around the state of Florida and up in Pennsylvania. I teach the essentials of fire chaplaincy, the curriculum developed by the Federation of Fire Chaplains. So you can check our website, fdchaplainservices.com, and you can see when upcoming training is going to be happening. I have a class scheduled for August of 2020. Obviously, right now, we're right in the height of this coronavirus, COVID-19 epidemic, pandemic, global pandemic. So classes are suspended for this time, but we're hoping that hopefully by June and July and August, all these classes can get back up and running. So I have one scheduled for August at Lebanon County Fire Training Facility. It's sponsored by the Berks County Fire Chaplains Network and the Lebanon County Fire Chaplains Association, and you can find out more information about that, the registration, and you can pay for the class online as well, fdchaplainservices.com. We also have a Facebook page, FD Chaplains, FD Chaplain Services Facebook page. You can go find that, like it, follow it, a lot of good things. I'm doing a National Fire Chaplain Zoom right now each Thursday night at 7 p.m. So if you want, contact me at chaplainfd@gmail.com. So let me see if I can, chaplainfd@gmail.com. Or you can also give me a call or text me at 239-405-1737, 405-1737. There's our cool logo, and we've had some challenge coins made up. So that's what one side of the challenge coin looks like, with the motto that we use: reaching in, reaching out, because that's what it's all about. We're taking care of people, and if you see something, say something. It's one of the things that we're pressing and impressing upon our firefighters to notice situational awareness. What's right, what's not quite right with someone that we may be able to help and interact with as a chaplain. So I guess getting into this subject of the role of the chaplain, who is the chaplain? Well, the chaplain is the person who the fire chief designates to be the chaplain. So that may be a local clergy member, or it may be a firefighter that has a spiritual background. It may be a lay person who is someone who teaches a Bible study at their local church, and they just have an interest in the fire service. So the chaplain really is who the fire chief designates into that role. Now, along with that, organizations like I belong to, the Federation of Fire Chaplains, they offer membership classifications for chaplains, and for the Federation of Fire Chaplains to be a member chaplain, you not only have to have that designation by a fire chief of a fire department that says, so-and-so is my fire chaplain, also need ecclesiastical endorsement. Well, what is that? That is a letter from your pastor or your denomination, or something along that lines, that you have a covering, that you have authority, that organization has said, yes, you have our blessing to be a fire chaplain and do fire chaplain. Because guess what? For a local pastor, taking on the additional responsibilities of a chaplain, that is going to take time away from their congregation. So we want to make sure that, and they want to make sure that the leaders of that organization, that denomination, that church know that you're doing what you're doing, and that, yes, there is going to be an expenditure of time. Also, there comes some accountability with that, and credibility. We know that someone's had, even though you don't have to be a theologian to be a fire chaplain, you should know something about theology. You should know something about psychology, and knowing about people, and being a people person, being that type of person who others would want to go to in times of distress and trouble and crisis, to share what's on their mind and what's on their heart. So, thirdly is we have the designation by the fire chief, we have ecclesiastical endorsement, and third is the completion of a 16-hour, 2-day Essentials of Fire Chaplaincy course, the Federation of Fire Chaplains curriculum, taught by one of their approved instructors. And again, I am an instructor 3 with that organization. So again, if you want, just go to that website, fdchaplainservices.com, and look at the training page and find out where there might be a class coming near you. All right. Just in this pilot introductory program, what does a fire chaplain do? I get that question all the time. Well, what exactly does a fire chaplain do? Well, again, it's based on the relationship with the fire department and what the fire chief wants you to do. Does he want you to, and I said he, it could be she, many fine women fire chiefs in the fire service now. So whatever he or she may want you to do they want you to just minister to their fire crews and personnel, or do they want you to have a crisis victim ministry as well? So I guess a sampling of fire chaplain roles would be ministering to fire personnel, and supporting them and being there. And if one of them is sick or injured during the hospital, or one of their family members is in the hospital, that you would be somebody that they could call upon to go and to be with them, to provide for spiritual needs, or maybe connecting them with their faith tradition. It may be praying with them. It may be offering advice. Maybe after a relationship is developed, that you might be approached. Hey, chaplain, I'm having some trouble at home, or maybe you might be initiating that conversation. Hey, how's everything going? I heard this crazy statistic about 95% of firefighter marriages end in divorce. How's your marriage doing? How's your relationship doing with your spouse? It's a great way to just open up a conversation. And then sometimes they'll say, everything's good, everything's cool, chaplain. Or they might catch you later on and say, you know what, things aren't as good as I might have let you on to believe before. So all different kinds of ways to support the fire service personnel. They may be doing a training. You may be able to assist them in training. Maybe you can be the victim, which allows each one of them to do the role that they would do in a real scenario, a real situation, as opposed to one of them having to be the victim. And so you know what I mean. So different ways you can be a resource by maybe offering marriage classes, maybe financial classes. The chaplain just needs to be a resource, someone who is also, we'll talk about how a chaplain is the calm in the storm. It's a control chaos, seeming control chaos, what everybody else is seeing on a scene, but the chaplain needs to be that one who has a calm and a peace in the storm, and the one who is providing hope for the fire crews. And where does that come? That comes from our reliance on God. So we definitely are going to talk about how do we do that? How do we stay connected, and how do we stay focused, and how do we stay spiritually built up as we're expending ourselves in this ministry of fire chaplaincy? I mentioned crisis victim ministry. Your department may ask you to provide those kinds of services where you're actually going on scene and maybe helping a widow whose husband just passed away, and they have no idea what to do, and they may need help in just making phone calls to let other family members know, or to help them pick a funeral home that you might already have a relationship with. Or maybe you're walking in cold and you see a lot of religious icons on the walls, and determine that maybe they're the Catholic background, and maybe you're Catholic, maybe you're not. That's one of the things that chaplain does, is develops relationships with different clergy members of different faith traditions, so that you can get to know them, have a cup of coffee with them, say, hey, at 3 o'clock in the morning, if one of your parishioners dies, I might, be calling you to come and comfort a spouse. So, you may be there on a crash scene, a motor vehicle crash scene. You might be there for a house fire, and the family's been burned out of the house, and you may be called upon to help get the family situated, or find clothes for them, find food for them, and just being a resource. So in all these things, the chaplain has a ministry of presence, just being there in an active way, just being there in a passive way. We'll talk about different things like prayer, and when to pray, how to pray, when's it appropriate to pray, what we pray, the content of our prayer. You may be uh, asked to make notifications if someone is hurt. Maybe a firefighter is seriously hurt on a scene, and you may need to go to a spouse and let them know, pick them up, and take them to the hospital or be with them. Uh, so death and injury notifications. I know in my area here, the law enforcement generally makes the death notifications, but there may be times. I've had times when crews are working in another room and they're working on a cardiac arrest, and I'll peek my head in to see how things are going, and they either give me a thumbs up, like things may be looking up, or they just give me the shake of the head, like no, things aren't going well. And I'm out in the other room and I'm consoling the spouse and letting them know that the best crew in the world is working on their loved one, doing everything they possibly can to save them. And then maybe you'll look around and maybe you'll see that they're suspending operations, and they may ask you, so you've already developed a relationship. Can you let the husband or the wife know that we're stopping our efforts right now, and let them know that their loved one's deceased. So you may find yourself in that kind of situation. When I'm in a grocery line sometimes, and the checkout clerk will ask me, they'll see my chaplain shirt and they'll say, "Chaplain, what do you do?" And that's like, well, my short answer, the shortest answer, is I get to be with people on the best day of their life and the worst day of their life. And that has to do with being asked to perform weddings and being asked to perform funerals. So those are definitely two things, as you develop a relationship with folks in your department, that you may be called upon more times than you think to officiate a wedding. And also when a family that's really not religious or spiritual at all, and they lose a family member, and they come to you and they say, "Chaplain, I just don't have any idea what to do. We weren't a religious family. We didn't go to church. We don't know what to do." And you'll be able to lead them through that process as well. There's critical incident stress management. Depending on the area that you're in, you may or may not have opportunity to join that kind of a team. Critical incident stress management, where you go in and after a bad call, an officer-involved shooting, or a horrific suicide, or a pediatric drowning, or a pediatric cardiac arrest. We're dealing with firefighters whose job is to rescue people and save lives, and they have that mentality. And when things go bad on a call, or the result isn't what they had hoped it would be, it works on them. It works on their minds. So those team members go and they help them process that a little bit. So there's also liaison with the department's EAP, Employee Assistance Program. The chaplain is not the EAP, but you may have insight, or you may be asked to be on a team that vets professional mental health professionals to be a part of the EAP. You may make hospital visits. I make hospital visits all the time. There's serving the 5 departments that I do now, with personnel of roughly 500 people. There's always somebody in the hospital, or someone's kids in the hospital, or someone's parents are in the hospital, and there's plenty of opportunity to make hospital visits as well. And at the end of every job description in the fire service, there's another line that says "other duties as assigned." So if you're on scene and the chief says, "Hey, I need you to run back to the station and pick up another case of water for a rehab," then guess what? That's the chaplain's job, to run back to the station and get another case of water. So, all right, this has just been an introductory session here. As you can see, I'm playing with the different buttons and the screens, and still working on the studio in the background, but want to encourage you that this is a great calling, and it is a calling to be a fire chaplain. So if God has called you to be a chaplain, I would encourage you to step into that role, be the best chaplain you can be, and provide the best service that you possibly can. So for now, until next time, again, my name is Mark Goodman, and there's the contact information, chaplainfd@gmail.com, and my phone number 239-405-1737. If you would, please connect with me. Find me on my personal Facebook, Mark Goodman, or go to the FD Chaplain Services Facebook page and like it and follow it, and subscribe to this program on YouTube and follow so that you get notifications so you can see the next time that I'm able to post an episode. So want you to take care, and may God richly bless you, and I will look forward to talking to you again. So see you later.